Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going way back in time to ancient Babylon.
Oh, wow.
Not literally, of course.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring this classic book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Cool.
It's full of these really interesting parables. And you know what? They offer some super relevant financial advice, even thousands of years later.
It's amazing, isn't it, how some of these financial principles, they really are timeless.
Totally.
And they apply, even though, back then it was all about chariots and camels.
Yeah, right.
It's still relevant today in our world of stocks and crypto.
So the book starts with two friends, Bansir and Kobe. Bansir is the chariot builder, and Kobe is a musician.
Okay.
And they're both really good at what they do. But they're frustrated.
Oh, why's that?
They're not wealthy, even though they live in the richest city in the world.
So it's like that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, even back then.
Yeah, I know, right? It's super relatable. Like today, it's almost like we're trying to keep up with like Instagram feeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Okay.
Their frustration leads them to Arkad.
Okay.
The richest man in Babylon.
The richest man in Babylon.
Okay.
This guy is a self-made success, and he's really open to sharing his wisdom.
Nice.
He shares these 7 cures for a lean purse with anyone who asks.
Wow. So he's like made it and wants to help others do the same. What I think is really interesting about Arkad is that he doesn't say, oh, I'm wealthy because I got lucky or I inherited money. He really stresses how important it is to learn.
Right.
And to apply specific principles, but most importantly, taking action.
Yes. That's huge.
It's like you're in control, right?
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into these cures. The first one, start thy purse to fattening.
Okay.
Pay yourself first. Arkad says, save at least 10% of your earnings.
Okay, 10%.
No matter what.
Got it.
He has this analogy. It's an egg basket. You put in 10 eggs, and you can only take out 9.
Okay.
I was thinking about this, and it's kind of like those budgeting apps that automatically transfer money to your savings. It is. That's exactly what I do. Such a good idea. You don't even miss the money, right?
Exactly. And it just grows and grows. Have you tried that?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's been huge for me, seriously. No more temptation, just automatic saving.
I know. It makes it so much easier. All right. Cure number 2. Control thy expenditures.
Okay.
Basically, budget and be mindful of what you're spending.
Okay.
Arkad emphasizes, figure out the difference between needs and wants.
That's so key, especially today. There's just like so much stuff being advertised at us all the time, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, being aware of where your money's going is important. I think a simple budgeting app can be really helpful.
Yeah. Or even just a spreadsheet.
For sure. And then cure number 3, this is where it gets fun. Make thy gold multiply. So now we're talking investing, right?
Right. This is where Arkad really understood how powerful compound growth can be. He has this parable, I think it's about him lending money to a shield maker.
Yeah.
And the shield maker uses that money to buy materials and grow his business. And Arkad, he takes the interest he makes from the loan and he reinvests it. Yeah. Just showing how money can work for you. It's like planting a seed and watching it grow into a tree that makes even more seeds.
That's a great way to put it. So it's not just about saving, it's about putting that money to work.
Yeah.
Cure number 4. Guard thy treasures from loss.
This is so important. I feel like, especially nowadays, there are just so many scams out there. Investment scams and people promising you'll get rich quick. It's crazy.
So true.
And Arkad really stresses that you got to seek advice from people who actually know about investing. Make sure your money is secure.
If it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is. You got to be skeptical.
Yes.
Do your research. It's not just scams, though. It's also about making informed choices. You don't want to just jump into some risky investment that could wipe out all your hard work, right?
Exactly. Okay, cure number 5 is interesting. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. So owning your home.
I love this one. It's so interesting, right? Because today everyone's debating renting versus buying.
Totally.
But back then, Arkad saw homeownership as like the foundation.
Yeah.
It's about security, long-term financial stability.
Yeah.
It's how you build equity, create something lasting for your family.
Even if you're not ready to buy a house right now, the idea is to invest in something that'll gain value over time, right?
Exactly. It could be real estate, a business, even valuable collectibles.
So many options.
Yeah.
Okay, cure number 6. Ensure a future income. Thinking ahead.
Yeah, planning for when you're not working anymore, making sure you still have money coming in.
Yeah.
Did Arcad talk about retirement accounts and stuff?
Well, not exactly, but he did mention things like owning property that you rent out.
Oh, yeah. Smart.
Or even getting some kind of insurance. It's all about being proactive.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, especially younger people, don't really think about this enough. It's so important to plan ahead.
It really is. Do you have, like, a financial plan for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Gives
Yeah.
me peace of mind, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, the last one. Cure number 7. Increase thy ability to earn.
I love this one. Personal growth. It's so important to keep learning.
Totally.
Arcad was all about that. The more valuable you are, the more you can earn.
Makes sense. And today, technology is changing so fast, it's really important to stay ahead of the game, right?
Yeah. So investing in yourself, taking courses, going to workshops, even just reading.
Absolutely. What about you? Are there any skills or areas you'd like to, work on?
Oh, definitely. I'm always trying to learn more about financial markets and new investment strategies.
More.
And actually, that's a great transition. We've talked about the 7 cures, which are like the basics of personal finance.
Yeah.
But how do we put them into practice?
That's where Arcad's 5 Laws of Gold come in. They give practical advice on how to use those cures.
Oh, okay. I like it.
And the way he presents them is really cool through a story about his son, Nomasir.
Oh, interesting. So like a real-life test of these principles.
Exactly. It's kind of like a trust fund, but with ancient Babylonian wisdom attached.
Wow, that's some serious parenting.
He gives Nomasir some guidance, but also lets him make his own choices and, his own mistakes.
That's pretty smart. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way, right?
So Nomasir goes to Nineveh. It's this exciting city full of opportunities and, of course, temptations.
Uh-oh.
At first, he's super eager to make a fortune. But he ends up falling for this get-rich-quick scheme.
Classic. It reminds me of the 4th law of gold, right? The one about making sure you understand what you're investing in.
Yeah, like not investing in some random meme stock just because everyone else is.
Yeah, been there. Not fun.
So this is where Nomasir violates that 4th law of gold.
Okay. And I'm guessing his troubles don't end there.
Oh, no. He gets involved in a shady business partnership, too.
Oh, no.
Breaking the 5th law of gold.
Oh, so he's like 0 for 2 on these laws?
Pretty much. His so-called friend takes advantage of him, leaves him with a bunch of stuff he can't sell, and way less money than he started with.
Oof. It's a good reminder that not everyone's trustworthy, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah. You got to be careful who you trust. So poor Nomasir is broke and feeling defeated, probably wishing he'd listened to his dad more carefully.
Right.
But this is where things get interesting. Remember that clay tablet with the 5 laws?
Yeah.
Well, he starts studying it like crazy, and the wisdom finally starts to make sense.
Ah, so he's finally getting it. It's like he went from making impulsive decisions to actually thinking things through.
Exactly. He gets a job managing a group of workers building the city walls.
Okay. Not exactly glamorous.
No, but it lets him start making money again.
Right.
And, more importantly, he starts using those 5 laws of gold in his own life.
So he finally understands that building wealth takes time, consistency. You got to be committed to saving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he even gets a chance to use the 3rd law. Gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
Oh, yeah.
He finds this really solid investment opportunity with some experienced businessmen.
Nice. So he's learned his lesson about those risky schemes.
Definitely. This time, it's a well-planned venture.
Okay. And I bet this is where we see the power of compound growth in action.
You got it.
Yeah.
His investment does really well, and he reinvests his earnings. Steady growth, like those flocks of sheep multiplying in the fields.
I love that analogy. So even after messing up, Nomasir shows that you can succeed if you learn from your mistakes and use those financial principles.
Totally. It's a reminder that we all make mistakes, but it's what we do after that matters.
So true.
Now, before we dive into those 5 laws, there's this other parable, the goddess of good luck, that I really liked.
Ooh, what's that one about?
It's about how luck isn't just random. It's about taking action and going after opportunities. Luck might look like a chance encounter, but you have to be ready to grab it,
Yeah, like it's not just waiting around for good things to happen. You got to make them happen.
Exactly. The story gives a few examples. There's a cloth weaver who finds a purse full of gold.
Oh, wow.
He becomes obsessed with staying lucky instead of seeing the real opportunity, which is to invest that gold. And there's a merchant who misses out on this great land deal because he hesitated and didn't trust his father's advice.
Ouch.
Yeah, so they highlight that it's important to be decisive, take some risks, and not let fear hold you back.
The parable ends with this great line, "Men of action are favored by the goddess of good luck."
What do you think about that?
I love it. I think it's true. We have more control over our lives than we think. But we have to be brave enough to take those leaps of faith.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about the 5 laws of gold.
Okay, let's do it.
We saw how they worked in Nomasir's story, but what do they actually say?
Yeah, let's break them down.
Okay, the first law, remember this is all about saving, gold cometh gladly, and in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family. Save first, make it a priority.
Got it.
The second law, gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
Compound growth.
Yes, it's about putting your savings to work, making them grow.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the third law?
Gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Basically, get advice from experts, make sure your investments are safe.
This is huge, especially now with all the financial stuff out there.
Totally.
So many options, it's easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right. Okay, what about the fourth law?
All right, the fourth law. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
Okay, so this is like Nomasir's big mistake.
Exactly.
Do your research, understand what you're getting into.
Yes.
Don't jump into something you know nothing about.
Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, the fifth law. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
So, no get-rich-quick schemes. Be realistic.
Yeah, building wealth takes time, patience, discipline.
So true. Those 5 laws, together with those 7 cures, it's like a whole plan for managing your money, investing well, building a secure future. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. It makes you think about how you can apply these principles to your own life, right?
Absolutely. They're just as relevant today. They can help anyone achieve their financial goals. I don't care what your income is or your background.
Right.
It's all about making those smart choices consistently.
We've talked about a lot today, but there's still more to The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, Clason also talks about things like managing debt and the importance of having a good work ethic.
I'm intrigued.
And they're just as full of wisdom and useful advice.
Sounds like we have a lot more to explore. Welcome back. We were just about to get into the story of Nomasir, Arkad's son.
Yeah. Remember, Arkad sends him to Nineveh with a bag of gold and a clay tablet.
Right, with those 5 laws written on it.
It's kind of like a test to see if he can handle the money responsibly.
That's way better than just giving him a trust fund and hoping for the best.
I know, right? But Nineveh's a bustling city, full of opportunities and temptations.
Oh.
Nomasir wants to get rich quick.
That's never good.
And he ends up, well, falling for a rigged chariot race.
Oh, no. Classic mistake. Didn't he learn anything from his dad?
Apparently not. He violates the 4th law of gold right off the bat. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
So basically, he invested in something he didn't understand.
Exactly. It's like today, investing in a meme stock or some cryptocurrency without doing any research.
Oof. Been there.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And his troubles don't stop there. He gets involved with his shady business partner. Violates the 5th law.
Which one's that again?
Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
Oh, so he basically got tricked.
Yeah, his friend leaves him with all this stuff he can't sell and a lot less money. Not a good situation.
It's tough, but you got to be careful who you trust, especially with money.
So true. So Nomasir's broke, feeling pretty defeated, probably wishing he'd listened to his dad.
Yeah, but then what?
Well, he remembers that clay tablet with the 5 laws on it.
Okay.
He starts studying it, really focusing on what it says.
So the wisdom finally sinks in.
Exactly. He goes from making impulsive decisions to thinking things through, being more careful.
That's a big step.
He finds a job managing some workers who are building the city walls.
Okay, so nothing fancy.
Not really, but it's honest work. It lets him start rebuilding his wealth.
Smart.
And now He's actually using the 5 laws of gold in his life.
So he's actually putting the first law into action, saving 10% of his earnings.
He realizes that building wealth takes time. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Consistency is key.
Definitely. And then he finds a chance to use the 3rd law. Gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
So he's looking for a good investment.
This time, he teams up with some experienced businessmen. They're going to supply metal for the city gates.
That sounds like a solid plan.
It is. He avoids the risky schemes and chooses a good, well-thought-out investment.
I bet this is where we see compound growth really working for him.
You got it. His investment pays off, and he reinvests his earnings. It just keeps growing, like those flocks of sheep in the fields.
It's a beautiful thing. Nomasir's story really shows that you can bounce back from mistakes.
It's all about learning from those mistakes and using those financial principles.
Exactly. We all mess up sometimes, but it's how we respond that matters.
Now, before we jump into the 5 laws themselves, there's another parable I want to talk about, the goddess of good luck.
Oh, I love that one. It's about how luck isn't just some random thing. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah, you got to take action. Create opportunities for yourself.
The parable gives those examples, right? The cloth weaver and the merchant.
Yes. The cloth weaver finds a purse full of gold and just gets obsessed with being lucky. He doesn't see the bigger picture.
And the merchant.
He misses out on this big land deal because he hesitates and doesn't trust his dad's advice.
So the message is,
be decisive. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't let fear hold you back.
Men of action are favored by the goddess of good luck.
I love that line. It's empowering, right? We have more control than we think.
So true. Okay, let's break down those 5 laws of gold. We've seen them in action, but what do they actually say?
The first law, it's about saving. Gold cometh gladly and increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family. Make saving a habit.
Pay yourself first.
Exactly. The second law is about putting your money to work. Gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
Compound growth.
Yeah. Find those investments that make your money grow.
Okay, what's the 3rd law?
Gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner, who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling. Don't be afraid to get advice from experts.
Especially today, when everything's so complicated.
Right. There's so much information out there, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Okay, the 4th law. This is the one Nomasir learned the hard way. Gold slippeth away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar, or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
Do your research.
Understand what you're investing in.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
And the 5th law. Gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings, or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
No get-rich-quick schemes.
Be realistic. Building wealth takes time and effort.
It does. But those 5 laws, combined with the 7 cures, they paint a pretty clear picture of how to manage your money well.
They really do. It makes you wonder how you can apply them to your own life, right?
Absolutely. These principles are timeless. They can help anyone achieve their financial goals, no matter where they're starting from.
And, Clason goes even deeper in the book. He talks about debt and the importance of hard work.
Oh, wow. So there's even more to uncover.
Definitely. Let's take a quick break and dive into those topics in the last part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring the richest man in Babylon, learning about the 7 cures and the 5 laws of gold.
It's amazing how this book connects, being responsible with money to your character. Like, it's not just about the numbers.
Right. It's about who you are.
Yeah.
And one story that really stuck with me was about this camel trader, Basir.
Oh, yeah, Basir. He got into a lot of trouble with debt.
Yeah. He made some bad choices, bought stuff he couldn't really afford.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, trying to keep up with everyone else,
Totally. It's like buying things to impress people or trying to feel better by shopping.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
For sure. But Basir, he ends up owing money to everyone. Shopkeepers, friends, even a moneylender. It gets out of control.
He even runs away from Babylon to avoid paying his debts.
Yeah.
But things just get worse.
Oh, no. What happened?
He ends up joining a band of robbers. Talk about hitting rock bottom.
Wow, but even then, he finds a way to turn things around. Right.
Yeah. He gets caught and ends up as a slave. He's forced to work building this huge canal. Tough situation.
That's gotta be rough.
But it's a turning point for him.
How so?
It makes him realize he messed up. He wants to be respected back in Babylon, not a slave or a robber. So he decides to change.
Good for him.
He earns his freedom and goes back to Babylon, determined to pay back all his debts, even though he has nothing.
That's impressive.
He asks for advice from Mathon, the gold lender, and Mathon gives him a plan to repay his debts.
What does he say?
He says, set aside some of your earnings, even if it's not much, and be consistent.
Okay, so even if it takes a long time.
Yeah, even if it means living simply and not buying a lot of stuff.
That takes discipline.
It does.
Yeah.
And Dabasir, he does it. He talks to the people he owes money to, explains his situation, and tells them his plan.
That's brave.
It is. Some people are understanding, others not so much. But he sticks with it, pays back every last coin.
Wow, so he really turns his life around. It's a good reminder that it's never too late to fix things.
Exactly. And you know what? The book emphasizes a lot that hard work is really important for success.
I like that. Work can be rewarding.
Right. Like it gives you a sense of purpose. There's this story about Sharunada, a successful merchant. He used to be a slave.
Oh, wow.
And he says he became successful through hard work.
So he worked his way up.
Exactly. And he's proud of it. He sees work as a way to improve himself and help others.
There's a story about him talking to Hadan Gula, right? His partner's grandson.
Yes, Hadan Gula thought work was beneath him. But Sharunada tells him that his own grandfather was a slave who earned his freedom and became wealthy through hard work.
Wow, that's powerful.
It shows that where you start doesn't have to determine where you end up.
So it's not about luck. It's about effort.
Right. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the richest man in Babylon, what do you think are the most important things to remember?
I think it's that building wealth is a journey. It takes time and discipline, but it's possible for anyone.
Yeah. We've learned about the 7 cures for a lean purse, the 5 laws of gold, and the importance of making smart choices with our money and not giving up, even when things get tough.
Like Dabasir, right? He faced his mistakes and turned his life around. It's inspiring.
It is. So here's something to think about. What's one small step you can take today to start applying these principles? Maybe set up a savings account, create a budget, or learn more about investing.
Every journey begins with a single step, right?
Ready to start your wealth journey? Get the Richest Man in Babylon link in the description. It's a timeless classic full of wisdom that can help you achieve financial freedom and live a prosperous life. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and keep diving deep.